Hello, my name is Master Sergeant Howard Mullen. They normally call me Mad Max Mullen. And I served 26 years active duty in the military. Had the opportunity to serve in all three of the Ranger battalions, along with the 75th Ranger Regiment. Also was a Ranger instructor down at the 4th Bennett Army Ranger School, the 4th RTB, 4th Ranger Training Brigade, the Charlie Company, 4th RTB. I conducted a combat jump into Grenada, the 2nd Ranger Battalion, Bravo Company, out of Fort Lewis, Washington. That was back in 1983, doing Operation Urgent Fury on the invaded island of Grenada, where we rescued American students, and we conducted combat operations down there. I've been involved with MilSim Airsoft for going on 11 years now. I first got involved back in 2003, where John Liu contacted me and asked me was I interested in participating in MilSim Airsoft. And at that time, I never knew what airsoft was. I never even heard of the sport. And I went online and started taking a look at it, and I said, sure, I'd love to do it. So the first event I did was the second one, Operation Lion Claws 2, out in California. And I went up against my former battalion commander, Colonel Danny McKnight of Black Hawk Down fame. I served in 3rd Ranger Battalion. I was in Charlie Company when he was my battalion commander in 3rd Ranger Battalion. It was good to link up with him. I haven't seen him in a while. And I went up against him. That first year he beat me. And then the 3rd year I was invited back, and the rest is history. It's funny because the first game started off with only 80 players. Then the next year, I think it was 100 and something players broken up between the two teams. Then the following year, it went from 300, 400, 600, and then it went from the West Coast over to the East Coast, from Operation Irene to Operation Lion Claws, Operation Irene, and it just exploded from there. Just last week, we had Operation Lion Claws 10th anniversary, 11th anniversary, and we had over 700 players plus. It was close to 800 players along with the gaming staff out there. It was absolutely a phenomenal game. I went up against Colonel McKnight, and I actually had a full rifle company. And it's really surprising to see how far MilSim Airsoft has came from the time I started doing it. The weapon systems, the technology in the weapons and gear, and even the level of play of the players is absolutely mind-boggling. And it's just good to be a part of this whole thing, to just see it just take off like that. We have players from all over the world attend. We have players from Brazil with this last event, players from Canada. We even had a player from Alaska, flew all the way down from Alaska to do the Lion Claws last week. We have players I had a player on my team from China. He came in a full PLA kit. He's from China, Hong Kong. And you just have players from all over the world, different backgrounds, different nationalities. And it's a phenomenal sport that's growing in leaps and bounds. I have a magazine, Tactical MilSim magazine. I have the magazine for going on 5 years now. And the magazine was originally called Tactical Airsoft magazine. And when I took over the magazine, I wanted to change the direction of the magazine from strictly airsoft. And the word airsoft had a stigmatism, had a stigma attached to it, especially when it came to what we call the real world tactical community. They looked down upon airsoft. But when I first started getting involved with airsoft, I saw the benefits of airsoft technology as far as like for training applications. And the direction that the weapons have taken due to the technology, I see a lot of law enforcement agencies are beginning to use like the airsoft weapons and other airsoft equipment in their training. Because with money, everybody's budget's tight. And with the weapon system they have now, the law enforcement and military can use these weapons, use the same system that they have on our current weapons, from the tac lights to the optics, the Tragicons, ACOG sights. The same thing, they're adaptable to these airsoft weapons. And so they keep their weapons retention and also the muscle memory when you utilize these weapons. And plus it's a lot safer than the munitions and other training applications they have out there. And plus you can't beat the cost benefit. For instance, the company KWA They have M4, and they have the blowback where the bolt system actually operates like a real M4 weapon. You take it out, the bolt comes out along with the charging handle, and the way it fires, it fires on semi and full automatic. You can feel the recoil of the weapon, which even give it more, realism to the weapon. And I was very impressed with it. And you're going to see that law enforcement are going to start getting more into using these systems for the training, which brings me to the magazine. The reason I changed it to Tactical MilSim magazine, because the magazine want to cover all technology as far as military simulation. That include paintball for training, that includes simunitions, that include the UTM munitions, as well as the airsoft technologies. That's why we call it Tactical MilSim magazine. And so we want to cover both worlds, and it's been difficult. It's been difficult, as you know, with the print magazine. The main thing is advertising, but we hold true to it. The magazine comes out quarterly, 4 times a year, and I have a very impressive staff on board. Those of you who are familiar with the book Kill Bin Laden, which was written by Dalton Fury, who was a former Delta Force commander. His squadron was in charge of hunting for Bin Laden during the Battle of Tora Bora. I had to serve with Dalton Fury as Ranger instructors together. Real good friend of mine, so he writes for the magazine. And I have Paul Koala, who's a nationally known firearms instructor. He runs the range out there at the Police Hall of Fame out there in Cocoa Beach, Florida. He's also a martial artist. He also contributes to the magazine, and I have a whole list of real-world personnel, as well as those who are involved in MilSim Airsoft. And the reason I call it MilSim Airsoft, as you know, that Airsoft, again, had that stigma to it. Normally when you mention Airsoft to the real-world community, the first thing you think about is, kids, young kids, teenagers, run around in the backwoods with heads on backwards, arc welders, goggles on, just shooting, running, and gunning, full cap magazines. That's the first thing people think about when you talk about airsoft. But there's a separation. When MilSim is military simulation, the equipment is a lot more authentic. The tactics that are utilized in the larger games are more or less towards the scenarios of what they would see in actual real-world engagements that the soldiers use in Afghanistan and Iraq. The scenarios, you also have role players involved, and the missions will be tailored more towards like realistic missions that we normally see on the battlefield. So that's where the separation of MilSim is. And the rules of engagement and also the rules of play are a lot more closer to actual combat. You can never actually replicate combat, but you can get pretty close with MilSim. So you can see the separation at the two have. Matter of fact, around 2 weeks ago, there was a MilSim event up in Minnesota where they did a halo jump in. They did a civilian free fall, first civilian free fall halo insertion into a MilSim game, which was pretty cool. So you can see how the game's taking off, and so I even heard teams are getting ready to do full scuba insertions, which is possible now because you can get the weapon into these full sealed waterproof bags. And so I see the game and just going up. I love the sport, and so that's why this magazine, Tactical MilSim magazine, full print magazine, and the stories. We do gear reviews. We have 10 tactical training schools, and where we participate in these schools, and we do the stories on them. We do gear review, and it's an opportunity for us to. A lot of the airsoft community have equipment that can test it out. Like you have airsoft Claymore mines, you have the M72 logs and so forth. So we test these out and just give the law enforcement, hey, we can utilize this technology for our training. Like for instance, the airsoft MilSim Claymore. You have the BBs in there, you can put powder in there, you can replicate, chemical munitions, the whole 9 yards. Some of the events, some of the props, did the events under the Operation Lion Claw series last year, where this guy named Jim Ryan, he's a phenomenal prop builder. He built a full-scale suitcase nuke. It was so impressive that when you open up the top, you see the lights blinking, And to disarm it, you had to go through an intricate disarming sequence where you had to cut the proper wire. And if you cut the wrong wire, it'll go off. Okay. Did Operation Lion Claws last year out in Victorville, where they had this missile. They had missile components where they had to launch a missile in one of the scenarios. A pretty impressive full-scale missile that they built. And then when you open up the box, it had a launch mechanism. And again, you had to go right down the launch sequence. You had to turn the keys at the same time in order for the missile to launch. And it's technologies like that that make the games more realistic. So, as you can see, MilSim Airsoft is actually, I believe, is going to be the game of the future. You know, paintball, so you paintball players out there, paintball is dying. But MilSim Airsoft, a lot of law enforcement, like I had, 1 year I had 6 Marines active duty who played on my team. You'd be surprised, you have a lot of veterans from Afghanistan, Lion Claws, participant in Lion Claws events. And it's absolutely phenomenal.
I'm personally not in the military.
Okay.
How's the Tac Sim magazine going to help me out?
Okay, if you just if you're more into like weapons and gear, the way the magazine can help you out is we even cover survival. We did a story on the border situation down there, and so we cover a wide range of subjects in the magazine. We're going to even cover survival foods, and so even if you're not military, if you're just outdoor enthusiast adventure, you know, I think you'll really get some benefit and enjoy reading the magazine.
What's your favorite moment at a Lion Claws event?
Oh, wow. There's so many.
Any one particular that comes out?
Oh, wow. We did an assault on Anaconda. We had the opportunity to do Operation Irene out at Zussman Mount site, which is in Fort Knox, Kentucky. And what makes the Zussman Mount site so unique is it's the same Mount site that a lot of our special operation forces utilize in their current training. You have anywhere from Delta Force out there, you have the SEALs, SEAL Teams, SEAL Team 6, the Ranger Regiment, Task Force 160th Night Stalker, everybody out there utilizes Zussman Mount site. We had to do this attack on one of the new facilities called Anaconda, and my team played the part of a Delta element, and we had to assault that Anaconda facility, and it was like a gunfight at OK Corral. It was so realistic. The pyrotechnics going off, but we didn't successfully reach that objective. That was probably one of the really thrilling moments of the Lion Claw series that I participated in.